I started to make money. I paid off those stupid loans that they pulled back. The plan was like, all right, I'll do this for a year, pay off those loans that I owe, go back and finish school. A year in, I was just like, I'm never going back to school. He was like, you could make websites. Everyone needs a website. And so I made his grandpa a website for his books. It might be the worst website that has ever been created for anybody in the world. It was terrible. And he paid me $300 for it. When you start a business and you show up to it consistently, it is like having a child that needs your attention and tender love and care on a consistent basis. And like, hey, if I stop feeding this child for a week, everything crumbles.
All right, welcome to another, edition of Living Boldly with Purpose. And I'm here with Dillan today. I actually am excited about having Dillan on today. There's just so many things that we were talking in we're calling it the green room, and, about the things that he's been doing in his life. And he actually got the opportunity, to spend a few years in Europe. He's going to tell you that story and all the things that has happened. I've been to Europe a few times, Dillan, but they weren't for a long, extended period of time. And it's been a while since I've been there. In college, I was an athlete and I was able to go as an athlete. I was a track guy, and stadiums that would fill up, and different world in track in Europe than it is here in the United States. It's like a big deal there, where here it's not as big of a deal. I mean, it's still, but we have so many options and we have all these different things that we do. But what's more exciting is just, when you think of living boldly in purpose. And, Dillan, maybe you'll agree with me with this, but I don't know if you can live in purpose and not serve others, and find ways to serve others, and find ways to help people. And as I've been doing this podcast, and I have one that's called Journey to Freedom and Living Boldly with Purpose, that are all kind of built around the same premise. I've only had like one person who said, no, I'm the king. Everybody's here to serve me, and I don't need to serve anybody, because by them being associated with me, their lives are better. But only one person said that. And I don't know how we came into that or did that. But it's just amazing that when we think about the things that we end up doing in life that bring us joy, that bring us happiness, that bring us to a point where we want to keep doing it, it just seems like so much of that is around serving others. And so I can't wait to hear your story. I can't wait for you to tell us all the wonderful things, not only that you've been doing recently, but a little bit about who you are. Because I think, I 100,000% believe that people care more about who you are than what you do. And then we can share that. And sometimes we get on a podcast, or we want to share all these things that we do, even if it's to serve others, but people don't get to know, like, and trust us. They don't get to know us. And by you telling your story, we kind of get to jump into your living room a little bit, jump into your life, he lives in Washington, D.C., right? We get to move to the nation's capital and understand more about who Dillan is. And so thank you for being on today. Thank you for being willing to spend your time to talk to us today. I can't wait to hear what you have to say. So I'll give you the floor, start with your story. And then after your story's over, we'll chop it up after that and just answer all the questions that will solve all the world's problems, right?
Yeah, I think I can solve every problem that everybody has listening to this probably in the next 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll try to do my best. No, Brian, thanks for having me on. I deeply appreciate it. And it's always hard to know exactly how much of a story to tell or what are the most important parts. But I think the skinny of it is just like the nutshell version. Failed out of college, had to move back in with my mom, and... Are you gone? Did you leave?
No, I just put you on so you could so we can see. Yeah, so because I want people to be able to see you at the beginning. And
I was like, this man just abandoned me. He was so excited to hear my story. I start telling it, and he's like, "Oh my god, this I'm out. This is not what I."
Just trying to do the jump to the. Yeah, most of it's going to be like this split screen or the big screen, but I wanted people to see you at the beginning. I mean,
it's like, where'd he go? Where did this man go?
I love it.
Okay. Okay. I failed out of college, moved back in with my mom. I was going to be an actor. That was my main
Okay.
idea. Decided that was not going to be the best path. I needed to sort of learn some life skills. And so I got a job at the Cheesecake Factory, my hometown, just waiting tables, learning how to take care of myself. Eventually that became no longer the game that I wanted to play. And I got a sales job at a home remodeling company. I was going door to door doing sales. And then the pandemic hit. I hated that job as well. And so over lockdown, I quit that job because I was in love with running my own schedule, building my own schedule, making my own stuff. And I was like, I don't really care what it is. I had no plan. I was just like, I'll make websites for people. I'll edit people's podcasts. I was not good at any of this. Like I had no skills, but I was like, anything other than going back and working a job and having a boss. I want to be on my computer. I want to do cool stuff and teach myself stuff. And eventually I found life coaching, started to do that. I started coaching my friends for free. And eventually I was like, yeah, I think this is the thing I really want to do. Mm-hmm. And I think at that point I was like 26 or 27. So in the grand scheme of things, I see that now as a young person, like with plenty of time. But at the time I was like, man, I've had friends who've been building their careers for like 5 years. They graduated college, X years ago. I was like, man, it took me so long to figure out what I feel like I might be able to do or want to do. And cut to, I built a full-time one-on-one life coaching practice. I did that for a couple of years. And eventually I just kind of got the hang of it. I was like, yeah, I think this is just like kind of easy. I'm skipping over a lot of pretty crucial details here, but eventually I hit a point where I was like, I've been in my hometown. I was living in an apartment with a roommate, really enjoying my life, but everything just kind of felt easy and familiar. Mm-hmm. I was like, I understand this world. Like it just makes sense to me. And so my roommate got a boyfriend, eventually moved out and was like, hey, I'm moving in with my boyfriend. And I was thinking, what do I do? Do I get another roommate? Do I stay here? Do I get another place close by? And then I was like, well, I've always wanted to go to Argentina. I don't know why. I've always wanted to just go. I studied abroad in Germany when I was in college, so I know what it's like to go and live in another country and learn another language. I just had it in my head. I was like, I want to go to Buenos Aires, Argentina. And I was like, at the very least, it will make me uncomfortable and it'll completely shake everything up in my world. It'll force me to be in unfamiliar spaces and level up in other ways that I just didn't really need to, living in my hometown, working my business. And so I did. That's where I went. I flew there, gave myself 2 months. I was like, if I hate it, I'll just come back and everything will be fine. And I met a woman there. I fell in love with travel and I was like, this is what I want to do. And so that went from 2 months to about 2 years of traveling around the world. I lived in South America, Colombia, Brazil, Argentina again, went to Europe, Spain, Italy, England, Poland, eventually Southeast Asia. And all while going through a relationship, breaking up in that relationship. I started this company, Grindstone, which is an accountability coaching program for video content creators. Okay. We work with them for 6 months and help them just do their work every week so that they can build their business, build their audience. And the very important details that I'm kind of glossing over is that while this was an insanely adventurous and fulfilling and rewarding and beautiful time, like it made me 100 times stronger, like of a man, of a person, of an entrepreneur than I was prior. It was the hardest time of my life for sure. Like not just the breakup, but like Grindstone, our business, I was treating it like my full-time job and we made no money for 10 months, like the first 10 months. Which again, now that I'm sharing the story, it's like, those early days, but when I was in it, like if anyone has built something and it's not going well, like, those 10 months don't fly by. It's like this slow, horribly painful, time period where every single day is just like, what should I give up? Which I didn't come close to giving up, but it's just all this uncertainty, all this doubt. You have no evidence that this is going to ever work out. And all the while I was, it was like all these things happening and I'm thousands and thousands of miles away from my closest friends and family who I missed dearly. And what I would have given in those moments to just be able to like drive 30 minutes to my best friend's house and just have dinner with them and talk to them and like share how I'm feeling. But no, instead I was, recently single, in a random Airbnb in Bali by myself, like just sitting there by myself. And maybe, I could do phone calls and have Zoom calls and stuff, but it's just not the same. So cut to this year, I ended my travels. I moved back to the United States. I'm now in Washington, DC. I'm from Maryland. So I'm still I'm pretty close to my hometown-ish, but now in a big city, living on my own, living very close to some of my closest friends. And I think the number one thing I've learned is, and we were talking about this right before we hit record, I do believe that everybody in some way, shape, or form should explore and leave their hometown if possible. And I think for many listening, it will have been possible. At the very least, so that you can really appreciate where you come from and what you have access to. And a lot of people will leave their hometown and go like, "Oh my God, this is so much better. I don't ever want to go back to my hometown." And that's fine. Like everyone's different. We all come from different spaces. But for me, at least, I loved my friends and family, and I liked DC. But once I, was on the other side of the planet, like 2 full travel days of space away from it, that's when I was like, oh my God, it's when we're depleted of something. I think that we fully appreciate something, right? If you have a loss, like a family member, no matter how much you love this person, it's when they're gone and you no longer have access to this person, this thing, this experience. That's when I don't think anything could ever top how much we really feel like we appreciate something in those moments. And so cut to today, recently moved back, got my own place here in DC, and really enjoying not only continuing to build this business, which now is making money, luckily, but now I get to just surround myself with my favorite people in the world and continue to do things like this digitally with cool people like yourself. So happy to fill in any gaps along the way, but in a nutshell, that is at least a story of mine.
Oh, I love it. And thank you for sharing that. And also being this vulnerable about, hey man, this was hard. It wasn't like, when we think about traveling abroad, we think of, all the wonderful things and the sights and things that we see, but there's only so much of that you can do, right? There's only so many museums that you can go to. There's only so much, but if you're living there and you're trying to run your business, but you're doing it by yourself, you feel so far away. You're eating different food, you're in, absorbing different entertainment than you used to. And sometimes it's that comfort food, that comfort things that you're used to doing that you can't do anymore. And then just the fact that, loneliness is real. I mean, it is something that, especially if you are a person who has great relationships. So thank you for sharing that. But I want to dive into his identity, because through your story, you talked about a few things that I think that folks can kind of understand about identity. Like you started out as, I failed college, or I failed out of college, and I would love to kind of know what your identity or what you thought college was supposed to do. And that you didn't get out of it. And then that whole, your whole identity. Okay. So now I just want to do things where I don't have the Cheesecake Factory, right? I don't want to work at the Cheesecake Factory. You got a great personality, but I don't want to serve people in that capacity. And then you have to not have an identity that's strong enough to go work on a business. And then the third, I guess, section of your identity that you talked about is just, I was at a place where I almost felt like I could give up, but there's no way I could give up. Right. And just you saying that tells me there's an identity there that says, once I jump into something, then I'm not quitting. I'm not going to quit anything. And so that has to come from somewhere as well. So maybe kind of just walk through your identity journey.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I think for several parts of our conversation, we will probably mean the same things, but maybe use different language.
Hello, this is Dr. B, and I want to ask you one simple question. What if you died having never become you? Now, I don't mean the version of you that worked the job, raised the kids, or chased security. I mean the person God actually designed you to be, the real you. Because there's a version of your life that's already been written, and it's full of peace, it's full of boldness, it's full of purpose, and of course, it's full of power. But most people, many people, they miss it. They live distracted, doubting, disconnected, and deep down they wonder, is this really all there is? But not you and not today. That's why we created the Becoming the Person universe. It's a living, breathing community of people saying, I want to be who God called me to be. Not someday, but right now. So inside, we'll walk you through 3 levels of transformation. Level 1 is all about identity, where you finally see yourself clearly and know exactly who you are and who you need to become. Level 2 is about mastery, where we develop the disciplines to grow. And then finally, level 3 is legacy, where your life begins to matter beyond you. And hear me. I want you to hear me clear here. This is not a place to passively belong. This is a place to grow, lead, and thrive. We even have ways for you to share in the revenue as we grow, because we believe in building legacy together. And I want you to know the founders and I are praying for you. We have been praying for you. You have been on our hearts. Yes, you have been on our hearts. You're not watching this by accident. And I want to personally invite you to the next info meeting, where we will go over all this community has to offer. All you have to do is just click the link before, you know what to do. But now it's your turn. I want to ask you to ask yourself, what if this is the moment everything changes? What if this is the reason you've been searching? What if all God has been waiting for is for you to say yes? There's a seat for you here, whether you're rediscovering yourself or finally ready to leave a legacy and are ready to contribute. Either way, this is the Becoming the Person universe. And once you're in, your life will never be the same. So I can't wait to meet you. I can't wait to spend time with you. I can't wait to see you on the other side. So let's go live in that purpose, and let's do it together.
Around to explain it. So it's quite interesting, because I never really have thought about it in terms of what's my identity, or like, who do I want to be? It's more, at least for me, and again, I think this is the same thing that you're saying, but you tell me. It's like, what game do I want to play?
Okay. Yeah.
What's the game that I want to play?
Yeah.
And college, school was not the game that I wanted to play.
Gotcha.
I never wanted to play it. I always hated school. Hated it. I hated sitting there. I hated getting lectured. I hated being told what to learn, how to learn, at what pace to learn, the sequence to learning. And growing up, at least for me, and I think this is changing as the years go on, but it was like, that was the game. You want to build a career and a life for yourself. Like, you go to school, you finish school, you get a degree, you get a job. And that was it. And so to use the lens that you're providing in this question, the identity, pretty much my whole academic career, like including the first year or two after I flunked out of college. And to be clear, like, I was skipping my classes, and then they said, hey, we're giving you student loans. You're not going to these classes. So we're no longer giving you loans. And so what I mean by I failed out is, like, by getting zeros in my courses, the school was like, you have to pay this back, and you cannot continue to go to school here. So, like, I could have gone back, but that, just for clarification, it's not like I got many Fs, but it's not like I got one F and they were just like, you're out of here. Yeah. They just pulled my loans. But my identity at that point was that of a loser.
Okay.
Because I had it in my head that, through family, and my family's great, but, they're pretty traditional, most of them, and academics, some of them. And this idea of, like, well, if you're not going to do school, if you're not going to go get a degree, what are you going to do? Be a loser? And so I was like, well, this whole school thing didn't really work out for me. So I guess I'm a loser. I guess I'm an idiot. And we could do a whole podcast on my thoughts about the education system in the US and this promise of college, and how I think college can be a wonderful tool for a lot of people, but in general, on aggregate, I personally do not, and I'm biased, right? Because the system didn't work for me, and I didn't like that system. But I think in general, it makes a huge promise that it does not
deliver.
more often than not does not deliver on. And I think I only say that because of how typically expensive it is. If it was way less expensive, or if it's like a community college, which is so much more affordable, then it's like, yeah, go ahead and try this class and try that class and try this. But I was an 18-year-old kid, which I take responsibility for, right? I'm not saying that I am, like I was an adult. I was told what would happen, and I still did it. I do believe telling an 18-year-old kid, like, hey, you're going to do it, but like, you're going to pay lots of money for this later. And they're like, yeah, for sure. No problem. No problem. I was like, it was out of my head. It's like, that's fake money. This is never going to affect me. I think just going, especially if you hate school, which I hated school, and I did not do well in high school. So there was no evidence that I was going to go.
A shock.
There was no evidence that I was just going to go crush it in my college classes. In fact, they're like, hey, dude, school, right? And I'm like, yeah, I hate it. I never did well at it. And they're like, yeah, so now you're going to do that alone with no supervision, with all the alcohol and drugs and women and parties that you want. You're going to have full access to that, but make sure you do better in school. Okay. And I'm like, yeah, you got it. Sure thing. All right. I'll see you in the fall.
I love it. Oh my gosh.
So yeah, it just didn't work. And, sitting in the classrooms.
Just to piggyback on what you're saying, I think part of your identity was really somebody else's for you. Like you're living up to what trying to fit into what society is telling you need to be before you kind of figure it out for yourself, going, wait a minute, this is not me. This is what somebody else wants to be. I already know I hate school. I already know this isn't something I want to do. I might like the environment of what school's giving me and the friends and all that, but the actual academic part of it, you already knew, but you were fulfilling what somebody else, or not just one somebody, but a whole society is saying, this is who you need to be. And then,
so I think kind of like that's definitely an aspect of it. But I think what it really was, Brian, is that I didn't know my options. I didn't know what else was available. It was just like, well, what else am I going to do? Like, you go to college. It's either go to school, get a degree, get a job, or be a loser. There was nothing in between. I just didn't. I had no idea. And so when I was forcibly stopped, it was just like, well, what do I do? And I was like, well, I guess my identity was like, well, I guess I could just kind of suck it up and admit defeat and get a job at this restaurant in my hometown. And, I worked there, and, I would see people that I went to high school come in, and I'm just like hiding my face. I'm just, I don't want them to see me in this tie and my apron. And I'm, I'm 23, 24, 25, serving my old high school friends food at first. And then I just started to do it, and I got really into self-improvement and personal development. I started to build habits. I started to go to the gym and get in shape. And I was like, this is just what I'm doing right now. Working at this restaurant, I made friends there. It gave me a routine. I started to make money. I paid off those stupid loans that they pulled back. That they were like, you can't come back to the school. And the plan was like, all right, I'll do this for a year. I'll pay off those loans that I owe, and then I'll go back and finish school. And a year in, I was just like, I'm never going back to school. I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea.
I just know what I'm not doing.
I'm never going back to school. Why would I do it? It's never worked. And so that job, man, that Cheesecake Factory job saved my life at that time. And I'm so grateful for it. And that was the game at that time that I really wanted to play. I was like, all right, cool. Like, let me really build a routine here. Let me buy a car. I had never had a car. I had never saved up enough money to buy a car. Like little simple things. Let me build some habits. Let me build a morning routine. I started meditating and getting in all like self-help 101 stuff, basically. And then about 2 years in, I started to really not like the job. I was like, okay, it's time to level up. It's time to move on. Like this was supposed to be a temporary thing. And I'm starting to feel like, all right, it's time to do something else. This is no longer the game that I want to play.
Yeah.
And then I got this door-to-door sales job. Same kind of thing. I was only there for like a few months because the pandemic hit, I think 2 or 3 months in.
Oh, right after you got there. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. And that was, man, door-to-door sales. I don't know if you've ever done cold sales, but hardest thing I've ever had to do in my entire life.
Absolutely.
Someone knocks on your door. What do you what's your first response?
What do you want?
Yeah, it's get out, go away.
Well, what do you want? And I don't have time for it. I'm at my house and I'm enjoying my house that I don't want you intruding on. That's what you think when somebody comes to your door.
Yeah, dude.
You know?
And maybe we'll get into this, but like, I love sales now. I have a sales coach. I'm the full-time salesman here for Grindstone. I take every sales call and I love it. I love it so much because people come already wanting the thing. They know who I am. They've heard, they've seen videos of me. But dude, knocking on people's door when they weren't even thinking about you 10 seconds ago, like you're basically shocking people and they're like, what? And you got this, anyway, I still have really close friends who are leadership at that company. And I saw so many people who were so good at it. And I was just mesmerized. I was not good at it and I did not like it. And it taught me a lot of fundamentals of business and sales funnels, right? So like you knock on 100 doors, 50 of them answer, 25 of them let you get through the pitch, 12 of them, you take their information, 6 of them, I'm making up these numbers, but like I got to see a physical sales funnel for the first time. And I was like, oh, interesting. Okay. And the pandemic hit and I was just like, thank God. I don't have to go do this job. Thank God.
Oh my
Thank God.
Oh
and that was like, okay, I shouldn't, people are dying. I shouldn't, I probably shouldn't react.
You shouldn't be saying how thankful you are that this is just, but so happy. Well, and you're so right about sales. When I think about sales now, because I love selling too, but when you're trying to convince somebody who doesn't want what you have to get what you have, that's why people don't like salespeople. That's why people don't like the sales world, why people think. But when you have somebody who wants what you already have and they know that they want it and all you're doing is explaining to them why they really want it, and giving them the pros to do it, then sales is easy. Sales is fun. Sales is exciting. And then to have to do that and like, I don't know how people are successful trying to convince people, but they have to go through, like you said, those numbers just get bigger and bigger and bigger because you have to find, that 100 doors to knock on that you're going to go through so you get the 3 or 4 that will actually purchase what you have. Whereas the type of sales that you and I do are, oh no, we got 10 people that we got to talk to because 9 of them already say that they want it. And then one finds out they can't afford it because they didn't look it up very well. Other than that, there's no, it's just so unique that is part of something we all probably should go through if we're going to be in sales, is that convincing thing, because we just get better at it. And then we go, wait a minute. So I'll let you keep going. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. I mean, just on that, I think there's sales skills and then there's just helping people sign up for a really valuable thing.
Yeah.
That's all that I see my job, right? So like, am I really good at sales? I don't know, maybe. I'm sure I've sharpened up my skills and I have a sales, of course I'm working on the skills, but all the skills are doing it. They're not making me any better at convincing someone to buy something. They're just making it easier for people to sign up for something that will really benefit them and their lives.
Absolutely.
And that's it.
So pandemic happens. And so your identity now is, I don't have to go do this because I don't want to do it. And then what comes, what comes after that? What comes after pandemic and we're able to, is that when you decided to travel? Is that when, or you started your company first? Okay.
No, I needed to make money and I really wanted to move out of my mom's house because I was still at my mom's house at this stage. Okay. So I think the identity at that point was I was lost, but hopeful. I was listening to Gary Vee and Tim Ferriss and these entrepreneur content creators. And I knew I wanted to be in the entrepreneur space, but I was a wantrepreneur. I spent years being a wantrepreneur. I was like, I've never made anything. I've never sold anything. I've never made a dollar.
Hey, it's Dr. B, and let me ask you something just here real quick. Are you tired of doing the same thing over and over and not getting the results you want? Are you serious about making some changes this year that will impact you in a huge way? Maybe you're putting out content right now and it's not turning into customers, or maybe you're uploading videos, but you're not sure why or how it's even gonna help. I've seen a lot of people that are making a whole bunch of cold calls to the wrong people and no one's answering, no one wants to talk to you. It might just be that you're just doing what you've been doing and crossing your fingers hoping it finally works this year. But let me tell you what, that is not a strategy, and it will continue not to work. That's why I created the Podcasting Challenge, and it's coming up fast. In just a few days, I'm going to walk you through the mindset, the tool set, and the skill set you need to create a powerful podcast. That's right, a podcast. You won't believe what a podcast can do. One that builds real value and creates new clients. And if you grab a VIP ticket, you'll get to join me for a daily Zoom Q&A sessions where I'll personally answer your questions and help you tailor everything to your goals. This is your moment. This is your year. Go to thepodcastingchallenge.com right now and save your seat. The link is in the show notes and the description. Thank you for watching these podcasts. Now let's get back to the conversation.
Through any product or service that I've created, but I feel like it's what I want to do. I feel like I want to be able to talk to other entrepreneurs and be in the space. And I was like, I'll do whatever. So I reached out to one of my best friends who became my business mentor. He had been, he and his wife ran a design studio, and they had been freelancing. They basically, their whole adult life had never had a job. They had just been running their own business. And I was like, just tell me what to do, dude. Like, whatever I got to do, just tell me what to do. How do I get clients? What should I do? And he was like, you could make websites. Everyone needs a website. And so I made his grandpa a website for his books. And it might be the worst website that has ever been created for anybody in the world. To this day, I can't tell you what it was like, what the purpose of it was, or like how to maneuver through it. It was terrible. And he paid me $300 for it.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I'm going to be rich.
As soon as I learn how to do it, right?
I'm going to be so rich.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
I just got to do this 1,000 more times and I'll have $300,000. It's crazy. But I was just shopping around, man. I was lost. The only thing in my life I had felt like I really want to dedicate myself to was acting. It was stage acting when I was in college. I auditioned up in New York City for grad schools. That was the plan. So it's an interesting question around identity. The identity is just like, I'm lost. I don't really know what my options are. I don't really know. Mm-hmm. There's no certainty here. There's just no clarity. And eventually, I did some copywriting and some making websites. Like, nothing clicked. And then I found a life coach, and she showed me what life coaching was. And I originally thought it was very cheesy. She showed me otherwise. She said, actually, it's asking really good questions for people and making it easier for them to move significantly faster in life with the help of another person. And so I was like, all right, well, I'll try it. And I started coaching my friends for free. I just reached out to my friends. I said, hey, I'm interested in this life coaching thing. Can I just coach you for free? And I think I'll be able to help you out with some stuff, but you would really just be helping me get some practice here. Did that, started coaching some of my friends. I liked it pretty immediately. Once I started to see some of my friends make changes based on the conversations that we were having, and then come to the next conversation and be like, Dylan, I did this, and actually this was so scary, but I did this, and now I'm doing, and I'm just like, okay, there's something here. It's my strengths and my skills, which is talking to people and listening to people, articulating myself, holding space for people. And I was like, okay, I think this is like the magic. This is like the magic pill. Like, I could just ask really good questions to people and repeat what they say and like frame a conversation and listen to them in such a way that makes it significantly easier for them to understand what they want, what they need to do next, and hold them accountable to do it. Very simple. There's nothing spiritual or woo-woo about this. It's just like, this is the system. Let me get very good at this system. And again, cut to today, I've done like 5,000 plus one-on-one sessions, 5,000 plus hours. And have now built a company based on this system of coaching for now just a very specific targeted group of people. So video content creators, people who are making YouTube videos, people streaming and shorts, etc.
Wow. Man, it's so cool, because when you think about one of the things that you brought up, and there's a couple things, but I'll start with this one, is the personal development journey that you went on. And I believe everybody should be on a personal development journey. And I don't know if people really understand what that means to be, I think some people think, oh, I went out there and I read a book, so I'm on my personal development journey. And to me, that's not it. If you were to give a percentage or a formula for how much personal development that people need, I look at it in the lens of, to become the person that you were meant to be, you got to spend, to me, I'll let you give yours formula first before I give mine. But what's your thought on, because you did it and it obviously worked and you became a different person. I think a lot of it's as a result of, like you said, being an entrepreneur, but it sounds like even during the entrepreneur phase, you were still working on you. Correct? I mean,
I was and I wasn't. I think it's up for debate. It's interesting because when I can't really say what a person's formula is. I think we're all so different, but I can just share that mine in general was one, learning about something. Mm-hmm. So like learning what's possible. I didn't know meditation was a thing. I didn't really know that I should be or could be a person who exercised regularly. Like it just kind of goes from this cloud to like, hey, we can, I call it self-help 101. Mm-hmm. We can habits. We can, put, healthy habits in place, take action, you can take action despite fear. All these like personal development 101 isms, I think that you could probably find in base like all self-help books, which at that time, I was reading all of these books and they were just revolutionary to me, man. And now, I've been in the self-improvement space for so many years. I'm just like, yeah, of course. Yeah, duh. Yeah, no, of course. Like it's just so obvious and second nature. But at the time I was like, what if I started my morning without scrolling my phone and I stretched and I drank water and, just like all these. So like, I think step one for my formula was like, learn about these things, learn that these things exist and see what other people have been doing. And I would listen to content, again, I would listen to these podcasts and content creators and even those cheesy like motivation YouTube videos with the very dramatic music and some guy yelling at you to make your bed and wake up early. And I was just like, yes.
When you can't breathe.
Yes, I will do that. I will make my bed until I'm a millionaire. I will do it.
I love it.
So learning about something, and then step two is just doing some little things on a consistent basis. Actually putting those habits into practice, like actually doing the things that you feel like would make your life better, and then therefore seeing the progress that those things help you make as a person, mentally, physically, etc. I think the third, I don't know about most people, but it does feel like personal development is often tied to entrepreneurship. Like there's a big Venn diagram there. Like a lot of people who get into self-improvement. Yeah, they're like, all right, well, I guess at some point I got to start a business because that's, I was talking to my co-founder about this yesterday, like a real cheat code to personal development. Like you say, like we all have to go on our personal development journeys. Like a cheat code to doing it is run a business, man. Run a business, start a YouTube channel, start a podcast, have a thing that you're responsible for. It's more or less. And dude, this was an insight I had recently. You tell me what you think about this, but I'm not a dad. Would love to be one day, but I'm not a dad yet. So, I hope I don't trigger any parents. However, if you don't have pets, if you don't have a kid, when you start a business and you like show up to it consistently, it kind of is in a much lesser and lower stakes way, kind of. It's like having a child that like needs your attention and tender love and care on a consistent basis. And like, hey, if I stop feeding this child for a week, like everything crumbles. And that's why I think people say it's a cheat code to running a business is a cheat code to self-improvement. It's like having responsibility that calls, that requires your time, love, effort, and attention and sacrifice on a regular basis. That is what is a cheat code to, not just personal development, but fulfillment. You get to see who you really are. You get to improve skills that like strengthen muscles within yourself that you never would have been able to strengthen otherwise. And so anyway, I don't have kids, I don't have pets, but I've built two businesses from scratch.
I
And
love that analogy. Many people call their business their baby, right? It really is
mhm.
true. I have 8 children and I have 16 grandkids, so I can take your analogy and say it absolutely is and I run businesses, so it's absolutely true, because you think of when you started, it is like a baby. It needs all of your attention. It needs you to be able to do everything for it. But then as it matures, then you mature too, just like you would as a dad or a father, or in my case, a grandpa now, where I don't need as much attention because I've learned the mistakes that I made, and you can't predict. I guess with some certainty you can kind of predict what your kids are going to do, but in real certainty you can't predict what your kids are going to do, what they're going to say, and how they're going to do. And the same thing goes for your business, right? Because you can't predict. But you can say, "Hey, the market is doing this." Yeah, in 2019, but in 2020 there's going to be a pandemic, and then everything that you just did. So I mean, you need to expand on that. I mean, I even see a book in that. It's a yeah, because what a great analogy that you just did. So when you person when I guess what I was saying is that I believe about 20% of time, but I live in this space all the time, as you do now. Like you say, I don't realize until I jump out of the space that how many people don't do, all the distractions that they allow to be in their lives. Like I'll go to, watch all these people at a sports bar. I guess I was at like the Gaylord hotels who are pretty close to my house, and we were over there just kind of looking at it, seeing it. And there's 200 or 300 people that are watching, these games go on, and and they got the jerseys of everybody who's playing, and they're giving each other stats about it all. And I guess some of them are betting on it, and that might be their career. But for most people who are betting on it, they have no clue how to bet on it. They're just they're lost. But I'm like, how many distractions are stopping you from doing that thing that you've always wanted to do? Or how many of these things that they haven't done personal development since they read a book in high school. I haven't picked up a book since they were in high school, and they're in their 40s or whatever. They just kind of walk around and they don't, but they tell you this is a priority. My family is a priority. So what are you doing to work on your family? Like, are you even spending time with them? And I'm sure as you were doing life coaching and that kind of stuff, as you were there and bringing people into this world, I mean, do we just get jaded because we spend all of our time in here and not think that people need it because we already have so much of it? Or is it just, people really don't need it? No, they have to, right? They have to. People want to grow, right? Aren't we on this planet to get better? Thoughts?
Yeah, it's hard to say, man. I think a lot of it comes down to reinforcement and what you've been reinforced for in the past. Okay. And so similar to how in the beginning from my own personal journey, it's just another way of saying, like, I didn't really know what my options were. Mm-hmm. More specifically, I had not been reinforced for taking certain actions or exerting certain behaviors. So now it's skills as well, but like now I've been rewarded. I've been punished a lot, but I've been very rewarded for taking risks and trying to put a service together and trying to get other people interested in it and eventually sell it to them. For example, I've now done that with 2 businesses. I've helped other people do. So I'm like, okay, I've been positively reinforced by that pursuit now many, 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 many times. When you have never been reinforced for something like that, all you have is this chaotic fear of like, well, what could go wrong? Like you've never once been reinforced for this thing. Yeah. Yeah. And so that's a simple, like a business example. But if you've never really been reinforced for being a wonderful dad, like if you've never really felt, and again, I'm guessing here because I'm not a father, but like if you've never been reinforced for like, whoa, this is the deep beauty and joy and fulfillment that is available to the human experience for being active and engaged in my children's life or, my spouse's life, then you're just guessing. Like if you've not yet been incredibly reinforced for things, then you're just guessing. And I think that we can sort of fill in the blank there with whatever it is. So doing something at the beginning, that's why there's this slow, like it's this compounding thing, right? Because we're slow to start. The wheel is very, very slow and sluggish in the beginning, but as we do it more and more, we then are starting to get reinforced for doing it. Or like, oh wow, I'm starting to see the benefit of this, right? Like you start making YouTube videos, they suck, and no one watches, so you're not getting reinforced for this thing. But then eventually you get better and better, and you start to feel the feelings of progress, and oh, I'm actually learning these skills that I couldn't do 5 videos ago, and actually someone left a comment and it was kind of positive. So you're starting to get reinforced, which makes it even easier to continue showing up. And I think we can just sort of fill in the blank there with whatever the thing is. So like, if you've never done a thing before, that means you've never been reinforced, you've never experienced any sort of reward for doing it. And that's why I think a lot of people just don't do it, because they're like, well, why would I do this? I've never experienced the taste of being rewarded for this. Would this just be a waste of time? Or I don't even really know what's possible here. So,
well, the other side of it is the pain, right? I mean, if there's pain and pleasure of that reinforcement, right? The reinforcement can be, yes, you did a good job and it moves forward. But then the opposite is that pain part of it that says, if you don't do it, this is your life. But I think so many people just get caught up in, they don't go through the reps. Why do you think it is that people don't do, like you said, if I do, let's take podcasting as an example, right? 85% of all people who start a podcast never get to 10 podcasts. And there's nothing in life that I've ever done that if I've only done it 10 times, I've gotten good at it. Right? There's nothing. I mean, it could be shooting a basketball or it could be walking down the street or whatever. If you haven't done it more than 10 times, how could you even know? But people quit so early. And so what is it that others of us who do more, and do more of the reps and we're willing to go through reps, that's different than the folks that give up so quickly?
Yesterday, I interviewed John Barr, who's a New York City lifestyle YouTuber, and he had a great quote on this. And he said, "It's never been easier to start, but it's never been easier to be distracted." Ooh. And I think that those two are they have a positive correlation. So as our technology gets better and better and better, and as our resources get better and better and better, like look at what we're doing right now. If you and I wanted to do what we're doing right now, a few decades ago, not even, we would have needed to like book a radio show or book some time or rent a studio. It's just like, I'm in my house. I don't know where you are, but I'm going to guess that you're in your house. Like we are just in our spaces. Like, and we just click a few buttons and now we're here talking to cameras and talking in microphones. So it's never been easier to start. It's never, ever, 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 ever been, and it will only get easier. It will only get easier as technology improves and as our resources improve. You don't have to be rich to start a podcast. You can just have a phone and start a YouTube channel. There are people who have hundreds of thousands of YouTube subscribers. Every single one of their videos is a selfie cam from their iPhone. Every single one, if your ideas are good enough and captivating enough. So it's never been easier to start, and it's never been easier to be distracted at the same time. And I think as I think those both will increase. It will only get easier to start, and therefore it will only get easier to be distracted, because there just will be so much more noise that's fed to you. It will take just more and more diligence, which is fine. I still think it's I have a lot of thoughts about the negativity of technology and social media in particular, but as a user of it and as a producer of it and as someone who helps people really utilize these tools, I do genuinely believe that it is a net benefit. I think it makes the world a better place, and I think that there are wonderful, almost godlike things that we are able to do now that we couldn't fathom decades ago that do make the world a significantly better place. But it's distracting. It comes with all this noise in like the more diamonds that we get out of this, the more coal that we have to sift through, the more garbage that we have to be presented with. And there are ways to be diligent about it, but it does take diligence. So in a nutshell, yeah, it's never been easier to start, never been easier to be distracted. That's why people don't start.
I wanted to ask you, one of the things that you experienced when you were traveling is just the loneliness of being out there and not having, your family and the connection, the relationship connection. And then when I think about you, we just started talking about technology a little bit and the loneliness that can bring if you're just scrolling and you don't have these relationships. And because so much of what we watch is not real. I mean, it might feel real because we're part of it, but it's not. It's not touch. It's not, that deep relationship. It's like, do I know the person on the, especially with, AI and stuff, do I know the person on the other end is, actually that person, or we're getting their best life, but we don't get the other sad parts of life, the hard parts of life, the things that we grow through. How do we in this day and age create those relationships that are meaningful, that give us meaning in life? I mean, because you came back and you rekindled those, but then we have all these people who are online that don't know. I have a nephew that is, like 22 years old, I think, and is I don't think ever comes out of his room. I mean, I think it's and to me that's scary because the whole life is, surrogates or whatever the movies are that we've seen. What can you give advice for people that are in that space?
Yeah. It's tough. And again, I think I've said this now 3 times, but I'm not a parent, and I can only feel for parents or family members who have kids where this is a real challenge, right? I have a sister. She turns 19 this month. So I saw her grow up as a Gen Zer, like on social media before puberty. This is the first generation that is experiencing these things. Usually for boys, it's like video games and, forgive me, pornography. And for girls, it's social media. Like these are typically on average the heavy hitters for these. And I mean, if I had a very good solution for that was like a one size fits all, I think I'd probably be a lot wealthier than I currently am. But in general, I can just share what has worked for me, because I'm not Gen Z, but I've struggled. I'm a human being with a brain. So of course I have struggled with the woes and the addictive nature and the compulsion to use technology as it gets more and more distracting and good at what it does. And for me, normalizing in-person events as frequently as possible. That is a huge principle I like to follow. When I moved here to DC, the first thing I did, and I got this while I was traveling because I was so lonely often, I go to meetup.com, but there are other competitors. But I like Meetup. It's a very simple interface. And you just see who's organizing meetups in your area. And these are just, it's kind of like, what's it like? It's just people. You don't have to be an organization. You don't have to be any sort of entity. It's just like, you can just be a person who's like, hey, I want to do yoga in the park, and we're going to do it Saturday at 6 p.m. And then you post that in Meetup, and then anybody who wants to join you can attend, and then they just show up, and that's it. And so when I got here, the first thing I did was I looked and I was like, all right, where are the chess meetups? I love to play chess. I want to play over the board in-person chess because that's way more rewarding than playing online, which I still do and enjoy. I joined a few like walking clubs, running clubs, like just get me in front of people, man. Right. So get me in person in front of people as quickly as I can. Right. I'm moving to a new place. I found that when I was traveling, if I waited too long, if I spent a month of just like being homebound, then that was my habit. Then it was so much harder for me to escape that because I had already built this routine of like, I'm in my house all the time. So get me out of the house. Like that's a checklist on my morning or my weekly review. Every Monday, I sort of organize my whole week for the coming week. And one of the checklists, I have this big checklist, means like I can't finish it until I'm certain all of these things are on my calendar. One of them is get TF out of the house. Like get out of the house. Like make sure you get out of the house. Like you cannot be a whole week with no plans that get you out of the house. So that's one thing. Make sure that I'm prioritizing in-person events. And my whole point there was not only did I join meetups, but I host one every single Wednesday, which is, and I say this every time I talk about this, hosting a meetup is a cheat code to fulfillment, status, connection. Like it's incredible. Like you are hosting and organizing this event so like everyone who shows up, and I don't mean this in an egotistical way. It's just like It's just like, I think normal human emotion.
Yes.
People show up and they like, who do they talk to? They come right up to me. They're like, hey, like you organize this event. I'm like, yep, sure. Yep. And this is how it works. Go ahead and have a seat. We're going to do X, Y, Z. You automatically have status. Like, people just kind of respect you. They appreciate you for organizing this thing. It's very simple. I host a Skip the Small Talk meetup every single Wednesday here in DC. We just go into random groups and we answer deep question cards to get to know strangers a little bit better. And we do that for 2 hours. It's very simple. It's free. It's like, we just sit in the grass in a field, and like, people exchange phone numbers afterwards. Like, it gets me out of the house and it gets me talking to other people from around the world, from around DC. It's a cheat code. So that would be one. And I think the other principle that comes to mind, especially if I'm feeling low mood, it's just, I say these 2 lines. I say, go outside, avoid a screen. Go outside, avoid a screen. I've never been in a bad mood and then felt better by diving into a screen, whether it's watching TV or being on my laptop doing, I call it fake work. Like, if I'm just like, I'll sit at my computer and maybe something will get done. I'll find something to do, but I'm just like doing fake work. I'm not doing anything of intention. And then the worst of the worst, at least for me, is just doom scrolling on YouTube Shorts. Just sitting there and lost. I'm lost in a hole, and just one more video. Okay, just one more video. Okay, just one more video. Okay, and then 2 hours goes by. I've never gotten myself into a good mood by doing that.
Watching that.
So go outside, avoid a screen. So I go for walks around, especially at night and in the morning as it gets hot here. I don't take my phone. I don't take my headphones. I just walk around and be with whatever is going on around me. So similar overlap to the first one. And then that's 2. I think if I had to give a third one, it would it's just, this is self-help 101. I think it's just how's my health trifecta, which is, how am I sleeping? What have I been eating lately? And then how have I been exercising? Yeah, because whatever mood I'm in, I can look to those 3 things. I think we should look to those 3 things first before diagnosing ourselves, or, saying this is what my problem is, or I need help with XYZ, or I'm feeling stuck. It's like, dude, you haven't exercised in a month and you're eating garbage and you're getting 5 hours of sleep every night. It's like, of course you feel horrible. So I take pretty good care of myself. I don't think anyone has to do any of the things that I do. I track my macros, so I'm pretty aware of what I'm consuming. I work out, 3 to 5 times per week, but basically, like, in general, whatever your life or lifestyle looks like, how active have I been? How have I been sleeping? And what have I been putting in my body? Yeah. If we answer those 3 questions, the 3 health trifecta, that will answer a lot of questions. So not sure if that's helpful to anybody else, but those are some of the things that I use.
I think that's so good. And then with your 3, and then how much time have I avoided a screen? I guess could be that other one, that based on what you just said, because I literally found myself smiling. I was walking by this tree that just looked like different, and I'm literally staring at a tree and smiling. and I caught myself doing it. I'm like, I'm seriously just intrigued about a tree that's in the middle of nowhere. There's no electric, connected to it. There's just the sun that beams down on it. It just rained last night, and I'm excited about a tree. And it is so much. Thank you for sharing that. This has been like a crazy conversation that I'm just loving. But I want to give you a chance. I've been selfish in asking all the questions I wanted to get answered, but would love for you to just kind of share what we didn't talk about, what you want everybody to know before we end today. That is, an addition or a extension of what we've been talking about.
Yeah. Well, I would ask you, you've done a good job asking questions and guiding this. And what I really appreciate is that I see you taking notes throughout the conversation, which whenever I'm on a call with anybody and I see them taking notes, it makes me feel like, oh my God, I'm such a genius. Like, I'm saying stuff that this guy's taking notes. I would love to ask you, what's been your number one takeaway or insight from this conversation so far?
I think one of the things that I wrote down in big letters that's here is just not only your tenacity and your relentlessness, but I think one of the equalizers where people kind of get stuck is you've done things fast. Like you've been willing to take the risk. And when I think about, like, somebody says, well, I want to be a millionaire, right? That's my goal. I want to be a millionaire. Well, if you work for $25,000 a year for the next 40 years, you get to be a millionaire, right? You've made $1 million. It just took so much time to be able to do it. And what I've appreciated is you've been able to collapse time frames in your story and the things that you're doing, and not the willingness to just say, I'm just going to keep doing this. You know, even when you're at the Cheesecake Factory, you said, wait a minute, it's temporary. My time is up. It served its purpose. Let me move on. And so when I think about, you know, our conversation today and where I want to go back and listen to it and watch it again, it was on those little things that you did that moved you forward or propelled you forward. Because I still believe that people are made to grow. You know, a flower's either dying or growing, right? It's not just existing. And so that's what I've appreciated. I do have like 2.5 pages of notes that I was, you know, you talked about learning and just the different aspects of your life. And like I said, your story to me, I guess I love hearing story because it lets me know I'm capable. If you can do it, I mean, I'm 60 years old and I'm still trying to figure out, can I do it? You know, like, what can I take from Dillan that I can do, that I can implement in my life that's going to make the difference? You know, when you talked about, you know, it's easy to start. Oh my gosh, I'm going to use that all the time. But it's also easy to be distracted, because I talk about distraction all the time. I talked about it here a little bit. But I hadn't thought about it in those terms of, everybody starts something all the time, but then why don't they finish? Why? Because they got distracted.
Yeah.
So cool. So
Can I reply to that?
Of course. Yeah, no, I want you to. I did a radio show before, and when I did have a radio show 2 decades ago or whatever it was, 3 decades ago, I would have to say, no, you can't replay because we got to get on to the next line. But we were podcasting, so we got time. I mean, there's no like it has to end in 5, 4, 3 commercial,
and we're out of time. Yeah. That's great. First of all, you look great for 60. I never would have guessed that you were 60 years old. I met a guy at my meetup last night, actually, and he looked 5 years younger than me. I'm like, how old are you? He's like, I'm 38. I was like, get out of my meetup. Get out of here. This is like, you're not allowed. You're not allowed here. This is ridiculous. On the shrinking the timeline, that means a lot that you said that, because it's not on purpose. And I found that the more I try to shrink the timeline, to me, that's basically like I'm rushing. Like I'm rushing. And it's when I let that go and I'm like, what's just the next thing that I can improve? Like, I don't really think about long-term. I really don't think about like, what's my 10-year plan? What's my 5-year plan? Even like a year from now, it's like, we at Grindstone, me and my co-founders, we work in really month to month, but at the longest, like, what are we doing this quarter, these next 3 months? Like, what's our focus? What are our projects? And that's it. And that sort of short-term approach, even in my day-to-day life, again, I do a weekly review every Monday morning where I schedule out the next week. And so I don't really have anything planned past 7 days from now, aside from like trips. And, you know, of course I have things on the calendar, but like my focus is, what my scope is just like, what does this next week look like? And how can I improve things for the following week? And then just doing that over and over and over and over and over again. Yeah. You can tell stories of like, and then, you know, it only took 5 years to achieve XYZ. But again, similar to what I said in the beginning, like, when you're in those 5 years, it's different when you're telling it as a story. But when you're in those 5 years, if you were to tell me at those times, like, dude, Dillan, you're working at the Cheesecake Factory, man, and it's like, you're really speeding up this timeline, I'd be like, what are you talking about? Like, this is it. Time is going by slow, Brian. What do you mean? What are you talking about? So it's only in retrospect, I think, that things feel like they've sped up. But that's like, that is just focusing on like, what is the 1% improvement that I can make for this following week? And then what's the 1% improvement I can make for that following week? And then you just keep doing that. And it compounds like anything else does. And then it sounds like, oh, wow, you did this in such a quick fashion. Like, well, it didn't feel quick, just focusing on one thing at a time.
Well, and thank you so much for sharing that, because in my mind, when I think of, collapsing timeframes and that kind of stuff, I forget that this world is all about goals and setting timelines on stuff. And I have to meet this. Because when I think about I'm not a goal fan. I'm an activity fan and controlling the activity that you can do. But I can't control when something's going to happen. All I can do is the activity that will allow it to come to fruition. And if I can concentrate on that every day, then those time frames do collapse, because I'm not focused on what if I, how am I going to get this? How am I, and then you're stressed out, and then your body doesn't work, and all the things that go along with it. So thank you for sharing that, because it does sound like, oh man, because we watch a movie, right? We see everything in 2 hours, a whole person's lifetime. There was an episode of Star Trek Next Generation, so it gives you, and it probably show you've probably never seen in your life, but it was one of my favorite because Captain Picard it ends up getting zapped into this, I don't know, it's a sphere or something, where the civilization that came before put all of their data into this before it went extinct. And so what they did is they let him zapped into this thing, and they let him live a lifetime. It was like 70 years worth of, he felt like it was year by year for 70 years, and he got zapped away from what he's doing. And then they put him back onto the Enterprise after, and they're like, Captain, you were gone for like 10 minutes. And he's like, I just lived a lifetime. I had kids, I had grandkids, I did, I created a business, all the things that you would do, in a show. And I think, man, what a good thought to say, slow down, see what is there, make the best out of it, create activities that'll do, and then see where God leads that to, whatever that ends up being. So
100%.
So cool. Well, thank you for coming on today. I've enjoyed the conversation. I hope you have. I mean, it's every day that I get, or not every day that I get to talk to somebody that is just willing to have conversation. Because to me, that's relationship. And even though we're all the way, 2,000 miles apart from each other, I feel like I'm in your home, and I hope you kind of feel like you're in my home as well. Are there any final thoughts that you have that you would love to share with everybody that we can end the show with?
I would just say to whoever's listening, whatever it is that you're doing or pursuing or want to pursue, just do 1,000 more of it, and it will solve basically all of your problems. Whatever it is, do 1,000 more of what you want to do or are doing. And I don't know what will happen, but very good things will happen.
Yeah, it's just to continue to do it, the reps, I think that's so cool. Any websites or anything you want people to go to, or?
Grindstone.coach is our service. Again, we're an accountability coaching program for video creators. So if you want to create video content and go full time with it, that's who we help people out. We have a fun little newsletter. You can follow me on Twitter or X at Dillan Roy Taylor. But other than that, I think that's it.
Thank you, Dillan, so much. Oh, man, what a great episode. If this is your first time watching one of our episodes, I would love for you to hit the subscribe button and the notification button, just because there's going to be many more to come. There's going to be so many great episodes. Stay tuned for this community. I think that'll be something, the things that we talked about today are all things that are going to happen inside of our community. And, connection is a big part of what I want to make sure that we achieve. And so just stay tuned for that. Hey, don't forget your God's greatest gift. He loves you if you allow him to. And, my friend, I will look forward to talking to you and to this team and to the folks that are around on the next one that we do. You guys have an amazing, awesome, blessed day today. Talk to you soon.